Get more on this with Charles Kupchan, a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations and professor of international affairs at Georgetown University in the Walsh School of Foreign Service and Department of Government. He also served as President Obama's special assistant and senior director for European affairs on the National Security Council, speaking to us from Maryland. Professor, thank you for your time, and certainly a lot to unpack in the first 20 days of Donald Trump's presidency. You recently wrote in The Atlantic that Trump's America First agenda tends to make the foreign policy establishment recoil, but it offers distinct advantages. Talk us through some of what those advantages are.
Well, I think the main advantage is that Trump has sensed that among the American electorate, there's a lot of unhappiness, principally about immigration and inflation, but a sense that the so-called liberal international order wasn't working to the advantage of many Americans. Lots of what so-called forgotten Americans felt like free trade, immigration, American intervention abroad wasn't working for them. And he has said, okay, let's try something new. And I think one can look to his transactionalism as a welcome change. I think it's overdue for a conversation between the US president and the Russian president, between the US president and the Chinese president. So I think there's some hope here, but so far these first couple of weeks have been head spinning. He's much more demolition man than he is architect. And as far as I can tell, his main goal is simply to keep everybody off balance, to put himself at the center of attention, but he's not thinking through the implications of many of his policies.
Yeah, because with that demolition that you say, some have accused Trump of being a bully, leveraging the US's power on the international stage, economic power as well, to get what he wants, the tariffs against Canada and Mexico here coming to mind, as well as him saying that he wants to take over Greenland, of Gaza, and of the Panama Canal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's short-sighted in the sense that he may get a deal on trade or a deal on immigration from Mexico. He may get something with China or something with Canada, but at what cost, right? I think America's image in the world is taking a hit. We're seeing Trump close down USAID, which overnight has left many people without the food and the medicine that they need. He's talked about building, a Riviera in Gaza. That seems completely detached from reality. And so I do think that many countries are asking what's going on in the United States. And in the long run, that unsettles allies and opens the door in some ways for adversaries to woo allies who are worried about American reliability.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm wondering about here, because this may also be seen by countries as a time that they could maybe move away from the United States, form closer alliances with possibly even those countries that the United States sees as adversaries, like China and Russia.
I think one of the big accomplishments of the Biden administration was consolidating alliances that had been damaged during Trump 1.0, in particular with our European partners in NATO, including Turkey, and with our allies in Asia, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, Australia. And now those countries are simply having to ask, can we count on the United States? Is the United States a reliable partner? Do we have to make other plans? And in the end of the day, they may say, well, we need to move closer to Russia or need to move closer to China. And that's concerning to them because we now live in a world in which Russia has invaded Ukraine. China is making threatening moves in its region. They prefer to stay close, shoulder to shoulder with the United States.
And Professor, let's just touch on the topic of Gaza, because that's certainly been something that many have spoken about over the past few days, with Trump saying that the U.S. Should take over the Gaza, turn it into, as you said, the Riviera of the Middle East. Is this also an opportunity, though, as some analysts have said, for other countries in the Middle East, in that region, to invest more in Gaza, to step up in some sense? Because those comments from Trump were certainly quite shocking, but have been welcomed, of course, by U.S. allies like Israel.
Well, I think in the end of the day, it's not a plan that has any real merit in the sense of, is this going to happen? It may shake up the region. It may get partners that need to come together to help rebuild Gaza, to help provide governance in Gaza, to wake up and step up. Right now, I think we're in a hiatus in which we don't even know whether the ceasefire is going to hold. And I also think it's important to see Donald Trump as a real estate mogul. He's looking at property. He sees Gaza, it's a nice beachfront area, and he's thinking to himself, well, maybe one day this can be a Riviera. He's looking at Greenland near the United States, at Canada, a big country next door, at the Panama Canal, a critical water passageway. He's thinking in a very geographic way. And I think you have to understand his background in real estate to perhaps understand why he's saying, hey, maybe one day the Gaza Strip is going to be a wonderful beachfront property.
Yes, but he doesn't seem to think it will be a wonderful beachfront property for Palestinians, but people of the world, as he said. The final point here, Professor, we had the U.S. now sanctioning some ICC employees. What does that mean when it comes to global order and justice? The U.S., of course, isn't a signatory to the Rome Statute, but has certainly taken a severe stance against the ICC.
I think two things are going on here. One is to try to make clear that Trump sees no moral equivalence between Hamas and Israel, and does not support the idea that the ICC is going out and issuing arrest warrants to both parties in the conflict. The other dynamic here is really about unilateralism. It's what we call sovereigntist impulse. And this really goes back to the 19th century in the Republican Party. Republicans don't like institutions. They don't like the UN. They don't like the Paris Climate Agreement. They don't like the UN nuclear deal. They want to go it alone. They see pacts as things that tie down the United States. And right now, the ICC is the target of that unilateralist impulse. But we've also seen Trump already withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement again, withdraw from the World Health Organization again. This is part of a unilateralist orientation.
Professor Charles Kupchan, really great to get your analysis and your views. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.